All right, we are in the second part of the book of Ruth. Last we left our cast of characters, it was a very, very dark time, very dark place. They're still in a situation where they're left alone with no leadership. Not only whole of Israel, but the women in the story are left with no men to lead them, to guide them. We're going to see in this next episode the importance of that role of a man, and it's missing. It's not going to be direct, but you'll see that there's going to be a need for leadership. We're also going to see a couple things about commitment. And when we get to one part, we're going to hang out there just for a little bit and just kind of dissect it before we get to the end. But today we're in part 2, A Kingdom in Sight, Orchestrating Redemption in the Darkness, part 2. Don't know if you caught on to the kingdom in sight. Of course, they're in Judges. There is no kingdom, but there's hope. As we get to the end, we see a kingdom is in sight. So with that, things to remember. We did this last Sunday where we kind to prime our minds for what the laws are, what they're following. And so we want to read a couple of these just so we can have in our minds as we go about the story. So, laws of warfare and possession of land and holiness, and we find this in Exodus, Deuteronomy, states that the Israelites taking possession of the promised land involved a command to completely destroy the inhabitants of the land, not making any covenants with them, and not intermarrying with them, as they were considered to be devoted to pagan practices, thus maintaining the Israelites' holiness by remaining separate from such influences. And then we have the laws of the family inheritance, states that if a person was to die and left without a son, his inheritance should be passed on to his daughter. If he has no daughter, then his brothers. And if no brothers, to his father's brothers, essentially prioritizing the closest family member in the absence of a male heir. This law was established following the case of daughters of Zelophehad, who petitioned Moses for the inheritance right. So there was a story there, and if you want to look at it, I'll have it up a little later. It's in Numbers, I believe, where there's no heir. Since there's no heir, it's got to go to someone within that clan, within that realm of family. And so we got to have this in the forefront of our mind. This is what they were brought up in. This was a covenant community. These were covenant people. They followed these laws to the best of their ability. We know that in Judges, they strayed away from the laws. So this is what they're supposed to be doing. So there was a little bit of a prejudice there against the Canaanites because you didn't want to intermingle or mix because that was unholy. And now we're finding that they're hanging out with the Moab people, the Moabites. And so there's a little bit of prejudice there because they didn't want them to intermix. They can't even enter the place of worship. So again, a very dark period for this family. And a couple of words I want to look at. Shuv means to turn back, to return. Turn back to, restore, refresh, repair. To turn back or backward, repel, defeat, repulse, hinder, reject, refuse. Chesed means kindly, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, mercy, loving kindness. And then there's Mara. That means bitter or bitterness. As we go through, there's a couple of more words that I found this morning that I want to try to throw in there. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much. So within this section of Ruth, verses 6 through 13, again, they're in Moab, a very, very dark period. They're very emotional right now. Things are very unstable for Naomi, for Orpah, for Ruth. They really have no plan. They're kind of hanging around each other, loving on each other, trying to encourage one another. Remember, these are Moabite women, so they have a history. They know other gods in Moabite. They were worshiping the foreign gods there. They were worshiping Chemosh. He often actually, they supplied him with children's sacrifices. So there's history. Naomi hears God has visited his people, and in her desperate hopelessness, she devises an exit plan. Then we're going to see that Naomi insists that Orpah and Ruth return to their families to start a family, and then they argue over practicalities of tradition, and then Naomi reveals her heart about God. Because we talked about that a little bit towards the end on part 1 where she was feeling resentment. It wasn't full blown, but now we're going to see this come to fruition. How she kind of started feeling a little bitter, just like any woman would when their leader, their husband is gone. There's a emotion that takes place, and you begin to want to put blame on somebody or something. And we don't necessarily see that there, but we're going to get a hint of it with Naomi. So we're going to go ahead and read verses 6 through 13, and we're just going to start picking away. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. We'll pause there. So what that means is she's hanging around in Moab, and the Moabites, they're talking, and she hears there's bread. That means that the famine is broken. That means that God allowed rain to come to Israel. There's rain there. That means there's going to be food there. And so now Naomi begins to devise a plan, an exit strategy for herself. Verse 7, therefore she went out from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went out on their way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return, each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead, and with me. That word kindly there, that's that word chesed, that loving kindness. She's blessing them. May the Lord be faithful to you as you were with me in the dead. And one thing I want to look at here is that they're returning, and it goes by really quick because it says Naomi's returning to the land. So automatically she's packing up. She's probably not saying anything. The daughter-in-laws are kind of seeing, they're helping out, they're packing up, and they're going. Where you're going, I'm going. If you're leaving, we're leaving. So they go, and in the midst of their trip, they're thinking, okay, we're going somewhere. She turns around and says, hey, y'all go back home. I can't do this. And this could be a little bit of that bad theology that we talked about that first one where, the tragic situation and desperate situation leads to that bad theology. Naomi has a theology that God will bless you if you just go back home. If you go back to your foreign gods, you go back to your family. This could be a hint of that bad theology. But she's trying to persuade her daughter-in-laws to go back. So they're tracking, they're walking, and all of a sudden she's like, hold up, I can't do this. You guys got to go back home. I can't take care of you. I don't have a husband, and, I think it'd be better off if you went home, find your own husbands, go back to your families, worship your gods. And that's where they're at right here. We'll go back to verse 9. The Lord grant that you may find rest in each house of her husband. So she kissed them, and they lifted their voices, and they wept. They said to her, surely we will return with you to your people. So again, they're very emotional. Remember, they've been hanging out. They've been mourning together. They're trying to help one another. And so now it comes to the point where Naomi's kind of trying to show some tough love maybe and push them back home. I can't take care of you. I don't have the finances. I don't have the strength to do this. You guys need to go back home. And they're crying. They're holding one another. They think this is it. And then they begin to speak up. No. I'm going. Where you go, I'm going to go. We're going to go with you. And Naomi's trying to plead with them to go back. But Naomi said, turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb? And this is where the practicalities come in. So I want to walk through this pretty slow. That they may be your husbands. Turn back, my daughters. Go. For I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should say I have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Now she's trying to put a logic into this thing because now faith is kind of not her best suit right now. So she's trying to put logic to this thing. I know you love me, but even if tonight I was to marry, are you going to seriously wait? Are you going to be that devoted, that committed to me that you're going to wait till these sons grow up? And she says she's old. Now, as I was kind of studying, she's over 50. So, I mean, to me, she's not that old, but she could have been older. But she's trying to let her daughters-in-law and show a little grace. Hey, you guys go do your thing. I can't help you out. Even if I was to bear children tonight, and you guys had to wait 18, 20 years, it wouldn't be sufficient. So please leave. And that's when they're still trying to come around her and stick around. Verse 12, turn back, my daughters, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should, where we're at, 13. Would you wait for them till they are grown? Would you restrain yourselves from having a husband? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. There it is. That's that bitterness. There's that resentment. She was holding that in. We just seen that now. Now she says that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Now, this is not a physical hand because the Lord's a spirit, but she's proclaiming that the Lord has risen up against me and I have no longer found favor. In that verse 13 where she says, it grieves me, the word there actually is in Hebrew, marar. And we looked at the word earlier, mara, but marar actually means to be bitter, vexed, provoked, grieved. So now we see that bitterness she's been holding in. The Lord is not even on my side. I've moved from Israel, from the community covenant people, and I'm in enemy territory. My husband's dead, my sons are gone, we're left. Do you honestly think that the Lord's still with me? He's against me right now. And now you can see the bitterness. But yet she still acknowledges the Lord in this. So she's trying to really push her daughters to go because she is hopeless. She is bitter. Why are you following me? Go back home. I can't help you. Verse 14, they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law and Ruth clung to her. So after 2 times telling them, go back, Orpah decides, you know what? I'm going to go back. So she's going to go back to serving the gods that she served, Kamesh and all the other deities, Moloch, again, where they provided children, child sacrifices. This is her background. This is where she came from. And as we get deeper, we're going to see the difference between Orpah and Ruth. Ruth clung to her. The word clung there is the same word used in Genesis when it says that leave the father and cleave to her wife. That same word, to cleave, to stick around, to abide, to cling together. So that's where Ruth is with Naomi. She's not wanting to leave her side. She loves Ruth. And it could be perhaps because they lived together. The sons were prayerfully godly men. I mean, their father, Elimelech, was the name, my God is king. So prayerfully, they knew a little bit about God. We're going to find out that Ruth knows about God. So, verse 15, and she said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For where you go, I will go. And we're going to skip ahead here. Because Orpah has already chose to leave. Ruth chose to cling. And now this is the best part for me. This is where we're going to kind of hang out in this confession. Verse 16. I'll read it again. Entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. Amen. This is a great devotion. This is her moment of conversion. This is showing that she's leaving her old lifestyle, her old gods, and now she's clinging to Ruth and her gods. So her husband, Mahlon, must have shown her the love of God and kept her covered in the covenant because they were married to Jewish men. So they had an understanding of who God was, if not Orpah, Naomi for sure, because she's showing that love, that commitment, that loyalty. And so then this is where I kind of want to hang out and ask ourselves, fast forward to us and in our future, do we show that same kind of love for God? If something is in the way that is blocking your relationship, that's an idol. And it could be your own children. Oh, I can't be there because I got to take the kids to practice, or I can't do this because the kid's this. And it could be the job. It could be the money you're chasing. Anything you put before God, that's what an idol is. And this is idolatry. And see, Orpah didn't get it, but Ruth got it. I'm done. I'm sacrificed. I'm loyal. I commit myself to you, Father. Can we do that? Can we say that today? Can we leave that comfortableness, that familiarity of family and friends, and at least I feel safe and I feel good here with them, because when I get over here, it's different. I got to change and I got to transform, and it's uncomfortable. But that's what this walk is about. Yes. When we walk, that's when we begin to shed things off. We begin to lay these weights aside that so easily beset us. And it starts with that sacrifice. And that's how we grow. We can't just sit there and oh, woe is me. I hope things get a bit better. I'm praying every day and things just ain't getting better. But you're not making sacrifices. You're not shouldering your cross. And this is what Nikki was talking about today in communion. This is that sacrifice. Deny yourself. Shoulder your cross and follow after her. See, Ruth did just that. She denied herself. She denied her own family. She denied her own gods. She used to worship. She used to sacrifice to possibly. And now she's committed to Ruth and her God. Where you go, I go. Not only that, but she makes an oath at the end. She makes an oath that far be it from me, let the Lord do whatever he wants with me if I don't follow you. Can we say that to our Lord? Lord, whatever you would want me to do. And if I don't do it, whatever you want to do with me. That's powerful. You can't. That's commitment. That's loyalty. That's love. Ruth is looking at this, and then she just stops. She can't persuade her anymore. So she just is quiet. And so they begin to trek. So the lesson here, and this is actually a lesson that I've got from my brother. He probably doesn't know it. He said this, and I jotted it down some months ago. The lesson, yes. In our faith walk, we must exercise discernment to know who or what to walk away from and who or what to cling to. Because there's things in our lives that I feel comfortable here and this person's taking care of me, but your spiritual life is just weakening and you're not growing in Christ. You're not developing fruits because you feel comfortable. See, you got to get out of that comfort zone. Naomi didn't quite understand it. Ruth got it. And this takes me to Joshua. I know we were in Joshua last week, but Joshua chapter 24, very, very good verse here. We're going to look at verses 14 and 15. Joshua is doing the same thing. He's making a proclamation to the people. This is before he dies. 24:15, if I can get to it. And this is where we stand. This is where she's standing. Judges. There we are. Joshua 24:14 and 15. Now therefore, fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your father served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Amen. See, she made that commitment. She made that loyal statement. Where you go, I go, your God will be my God, and death be to me if anything else happens. I will be buried where you are, Ruth, Naomi. And so this is a commitment that she made. So the lesson there, we have to learn, use discernment to know what to cling to and what to walk away from. If what you're clinging to is destroying your mentality and your spirituality, you got to get away from that really quick. It doesn't matter how comfortable or good it feels, you're being torn down. And then what's going to happen is you're going to begin to separate little by little from God. And then you're going to be like, well, I used to pray all the time. I used to go to church. I used to read my Bible. But I'm comfortable. Things are good now. I got a paycheck and, things are all right. That's not always the case. Sinners, evil people could do good. Evil people have money and mansions and cars and all this good stuff. And then the holy people could just barely be getting by. But the difference is peace. You can have everything you want, a big house, cars, everything, and still struggle and have no peace. And then you can have very little and you're living to paycheck, but you have a relationship with the God of heaven and earth and you have peace. Yes, that's worth more than all the cars, all the mansions, and all the friends you could have. That one relationship with that one man can bring you peace. Yes. Where are we at? Verse 18. And when she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her. She's like, well, I can't change her mind. That's it. She made that commitment. And that's what we got to do. When we come to Christ, we have to confess with our mouth, believe with our heart that he is the Lord, and we make that step. We have to do that. If you're waiting to make that confession, if you're waiting to take that first step, for what? What if today is the last day? What if you didn't get to make that commitment, and then you leave here, and God forbid something happened to you, and now you're right in the presence of God, and you're like, well, I was about to, Lord, but there were some things I got to take care of. That's not going to cut it. Just not going to cut it. It's a commitment to follow today because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So they make that journey to Bethlehem. And remember, we talked about that 7 to 10 day journey. So a little bit more detail. It was about 50 to 75 miles. It was difficult and rugged terrain. Again, 7 to 10 days. It may have been longer if they may have stopped and slept somewhere. Descending 4,500 feet from Moab into the Jordan Valley. So they're high up here, and they descend into the Jordan Valley, and ascending 3,500 feet through the hills of Judea. So as they're making their trek, it's just really rugged, really terrain, and they finally make it to Bethlehem, obviously having to go through Shiloh and Bethel, where the Ark of the Covenant would be. Doesn't say they stopped by, but that's where they're at. They're making that trek. Who knows what they were talking about? Who knows what stories were going on? Maybe it was completely silent. Who knows? I mean, Naomi is going back home. And what do they think? Is she even still alive? I wonder if they're thinking. When they left, oh man, did you hear about Elimelech? He left and he took his family and we don't know what happened to him, Or maybe the word did get back. Oh yeah, they're all gone. They're dead. There's no hope over there. Could you believe that they left us, the covenant community, Yahweh, our God, and now we hadn't heard from them since? So this could be a very humbling situation to go back to the covenant community, to go back to a church, where sometimes we may have been in that position where, I left the church for a bit, but now I'm back. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. This is where her home is. This is where her friends are. This is where covenant community is. This is where she was flourishing up until the famine. So they're making that trek, quiet walk, maybe a fruitful walk, who knows. But they get there. Bullet point here, Bethlehem residents are excited at Naomi's return. So we're going to look at 19 through 22. Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem, and it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city was excited because of them. And the woman said, "Is this Naomi?" So the word there for excited in Hebrew is hum. And it actually means to make noise, moved, murmur, discomfort. Discomfort means to make someone feel uneasy or embarrassed. So it's not like, oh, hey, Naomi's back, go, let's party. It's like, wow, you're alive? And is that Naomi? Because you look, you got the Moab years on. You look a little older now. You don't look like you used to because she's going through some things. Not only there's a famine too. The famine there is lifted. So they're going back. They're gathering around. Naomi's here. They're murmuring. She may feel a certain way. Very humbled, I'm sure. Not only that, but she has someone with her. Who's that? That's Ruth, a Moabite woman. And they're like, hold up, that may not be so welcoming as we think when we read that they were so excited to see her, when we know that means to be embarrassed or uneasy. So the crowd is circulating, the gossip's probably going around. Hey, Naomi's back. We thought she was dead, and her husband done died, and her kids are dead, but she brought back a Moabite, Gentile woman. And so now it's uneasy. Naomi must have been well known due to the Bethlehem recognition because just of that. They're hearing her story. Hey, where's Elimelech? Where's Mahalon? Where's Kilion? And then she has to explain to him what happened. Verses 20 and 22, but she said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara." Remember, Naomi meant pleasant. "Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me." The Almighty, there she acknowledges God, but when we look at that word there, it's El Shaddai, the Almighty God, the one who has providence over everything. So she's like, God, the one who's in control of everything, he did this to me. It's not my fault. He did this to me. And so she's putting blame. And we could see that. And she's feeling that resentment. It says Naomi reveals her resentment to the community with the change of her name, Mara, bitter. She's like, I'm not pleasant anymore. I'm bitter. Don't even call me Naomi. Call me Mara. That's how hard-hitting that situation left her. Or she's not even the same person no more. Don't even call me by my name no more. Call me this. Call me bitter. Because I'm not that person anymore. And that's where she's at with it. And then she has her daughter-in-law with her, Ruth. And all this is happening at the beginning of a barley harvest. So there's actually a glimpse of hope right here. This story, the book of Ruth, is actually read in Jewish tradition around this time, from April to June. So we're actually right where we need to be hearing this story, because again, according to Jewish tradition, this is the stories that are being read daily. And so as we bring it to a close, she's there. She has a new identity because she lost her old identity when her husband died. And so we'll finish this up here. So Naomi returned, and Ruth with Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab. Now they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. There's hope. Because if there was a famine, there's no food, but it's barley harvest time. That means they're about to reap something. They're about to eat. There's hope. She comes in just at that time from being destitute, from having nothing. I'm pretty sure having to sell off what she could just to eat, just to make ends meet. And this is where we find her. I just want to look ahead and see what the next slide. Okay. This is where we find her. To backtrack, to go back, I had written something down as I was reading this, because it kind of made sense to me as I was reflecting on the beginning of this part. I should have read at the beginning, verse 6, but you know, Elimelech died first, and then the two sons, and then they had the daughters. And I knew a man who barely getting by. He would sometimes cook, sometimes the wife would cook, but he would wait until the family ate because there wasn't a lot of food, and then whatever was left over, that man would eat. And I'm guessing that if Elimelech was anything like his name, my God is king, he was such a man that he was going to provide for his family. Be like, y'all, hey, I brought some food home, y'all eat. And whatever's left over, I'll grab some. Maybe that had happened. Again, he died during a famine, so it could be sickness related to famine. He passed away, then the boys probably did the same thing. We seen dad taking care of the girls first, whatever's left over, then we'll eat. So if that's the case, if that's the reasoning, that means that Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah, they'll be the next to die. So of course, Ruth is going to make an exit plan. That's something I was just, resonated with me, and I was looking at this, because that's what the head does. The head makes sacrifices. The leadership makes sacrifices so that the others can benefit from them. But if you don't have that leader, it's going to be hard to benefit. This is the lesson thus far. Very short today, but we're going to go ahead and get into the reflection of it. And then I want to share something else after this here. All right. Have you made the choice to walk away from whatever is hindering your spiritual growth / relationship with God and cling to your cross? Are you here today and you're just 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you think, I'm good because I know who Christ is, but I ain't made that commitment yet? That's not good. That's not going to fly. It's not going to happen. Either you are in Christ or you're out of Christ. There's no hot or cold. I mean, there's a hot or cold. There's no warm. There's no lukewarm. It's either one or the other. A saying that I heard a long time ago, man was in between the crossroads. Satan's over here. God's over here. God's telling him, hey, man, you need to come over here. Follow me. I love you. And the guy kind of goes a little closer to God. The devil's like, hey, I got you. You can have whatever you want. I'll give you pleasure. You ain't got to listen to all that. And so the guy just straddles the fence. And God's sitting there waiting. The devil's on the other side waiting. And God just leaves. And he's like, hey, God, where you at? Devil leaves. And then after a while, just sitting on the fence, the devil comes back and he's like, all right, come with me. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm on the fence. I haven't even made a choice yet. And he's like, no, I own the fence. So that's where it is. You can't just sit there and be like, well, I'm waiting. I got to get myself in order first, and then I'll follow you. That's not how that works. Come to him as you are, filth in all. If it doesn't matter what condition or state you're in, come to the Father. Deny yourself, cling to your cross. It's going to be rough, yes, but it's worth it. Second one, have you experienced discomfort or tragedies in your walk with God causing bitterness? Now, this is something you got to think of. Sometimes we still hold on to that bitterness. I've seen it in my family. It's just that way. When someone passes, it's like you don't want to pray. Because why? He's not listening. That's not true. He's still doing things in the dark. Even though you can't see it, you can't feel it, he's still working. And so have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt that discomfort and that bitterness thinking, well, God's not for me? He is for you. And he's waiting for you with open arms. He's waiting for you to surrender. And then he can come in and work through you and on you. Last one. Have you made the commitment or conversion to follow Christ? We're kind of hitting on that today because I really think it's important, because that's where Ruth was in Orpah. Do you follow or do you not follow? See, here today, we may be caught in that crossroads where we're feeling bitter, or you just ain't made that commitment yet. And you want to know more of God. You want to know who Christ is. You want to know the blessings, and you want to know what thus saith the Lord. You want to know more about this word, but I don't understand it. Make the commitment to follow Christ. Make the commitment to deny yourself. Get up, read this word, and pray about it. And if you don't know what it means, go to your sister, go to your brother, go to your pastor. Say, hey, I was reading this word, brother or sister, and I don't understand this, That's where that connection comes in. That's where you invite the Father, and then you go to a full surrender. With that, the lesson is yours today. Really just wanted to focus on that one, just Orpah and Ruth and their decision to make that commitment and follow after Yahweh. When Ruth was talking about God to Naomi, when she said, your God will be my God, she used the word Elohim. So she knew God, either through Mahlon or Ruth teaching her, maybe watching Ruth pray or Naomi pray. So she knew God. And then she also uses the name Yahweh. And so she knows a covenant God. So she's not lacking in knowledge. She's not ignorant. She was raised with a Jewish family, and she must have seen something that I want some of that. I don't want to go back home. I don't want to go to child sacrifices and whatever they're doing back there. I want a new way. I want a new start. And that's where she is. She was so convicted and determined to leave her old lifestyle to start fresh. Again, the lesson's yours. We're going to open it up for questions, comments.